And we are live. Hello, everyone. This is the Pocket Passer. I'm your host, Randy White. I hope all of you are having a fantastic day. I know I am. This is my friend Connor Rives, and we're here to talk about some of the big topics heading into this Super Bowl weekend. First of all, we're going to be breaking down the NFL honors and the awards that were given out last night, our reactions to the MVP, to the Comeback Player of the Year, and everything in between. Then we're going to be talking about each team's key to victory in the Super Bowl. What do the Chiefs have to do to get the job done, and what do the 49ers have to do? Next, we'll be visiting Patrick Mahomes' legacy, how that will be impacted regarding whether they win or lose the Super Bowl, how he plays, and the overall kind of media outlook on what his legacy will look like, and our view on where he ranks all time based on the outcome of this Super Bowl, previous to the Super Bowl and after. Then we'll be visiting, lastly, Purdy's importance to the 49ers' success. And I don't know why I said lastly, because we do have one more, and that's obviously our Super Bowl picks. Who is winning? And if we have enough viewers by the end of this live, we will be answering some questions from the live chat. So I appreciate you guys all watching. I'm going to go ahead and let Connor take it away with the NFL honors.
Yeah, so with the NFL honors, honestly, most of the awards I agreed with. I liked the MVP pick, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Coach of the Year. I thought they nailed it. They absolutely hit the nail on the head with all of them. Now, with Offensive Rookie of the Year, I wish that they would have done a co-Offensive Rookie of the Year with Puka Nacua as well as C.J. Stroud. My big issue was that Puka Nacua, I mean, he set the single-season receiving record for rookies, and that is significant. And yes, C.J. Stroud had a terrific year, a top 10 quarterback of the season type of year, but at the same time, Puka Nacua broke records. C.J. Stroud didn't take any records of that variety, so that's the only issue I had there. And then Comeback Player of the Year, I think the award has died. I think it's pointless. If we want to transition it to a Most Improved Player award, then let's do it. Let's change the name. But if we're gonna do Comeback Player of the Year, we need to do it right, and we need to do it what it used to be. Based off injuries and players coming back and fighting through that adversity, not Joe Flacco fighting back from his couch and his kids to throwing 10 interceptions to 8 touchdowns for the Browns. Like,
it was more touchdowns than picks.
Was it?
Yeah, bro.
Fact check me on that. I did not think it was.
It 100% was. He was a gunslinger this year, no doubt about it, but he got on the season 13 touchdowns, 8 picks.
Okay.
60% completion percentage, 1,600 yards in 5 games? 6 games, maybe? 6 games.
Okay.
Oh, well, 5 games. One of them was a playoff game. Yeah.
All right. I didn't give him enough credit. That's my bad. But still, my point stands. The award has kind of fallen apart. It's kind of silly at this point. And then Defensive Player of the Year, I'm fine with Myles Garrett. I would have been fine with T.J. Watt, and I would have loved to see Mad Max get it because I'd love to see him get that respect.
He's not biased. Just
not biased at all. Max Crosby just happens to play for my favorite team. That has nothing to do with my analysis. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I would have loved to see Mad Max do it, especially because he was top of the league in tackles for loss. He was top 5 in sacks. So, he had a terrific statistical year. Terrifical. So, yeah, I would have loved to see that, but I don't hate Myles Garrett getting it. I think all 3 of them, any of them could have gotten it. I would have been okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get that Myles Garrett's great in the advanced stats category, but for me, T.J. Watt has 5 more sacks than him on the season. Myles Garrett had 1 sack in his last 6 games. I don't think it's particularly close. Myles Garrett disappears in December every year. Meanwhile, T.J. Watt still puts up those numbers. He was phenomenal. He had better stats than Myles Garrett in pretty much every category. I don't think there's a real argument for anyone other than T.J. Watt to win Defensive Player of the Year. I'm sorry, but Myles almost sacked you, Garrett. It's not the Defensive Player of the Year. He's phenomenal. He's a top 3 edge rusher in the league. T.J. Watt's won, though. I don't really get it, to be honest with you. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I want to hit also on the Offensive Rookie of the Year because I'm with you. I felt like it should have been Puka. I would have loved co-Offensive Rookie of the Year award.
Yes.
Puka broke his records. C.J. Stroud broke his records. They were both pretty much equally phenomenal. Obviously, the quarterback position is the higher impact position, but that's why they win MVP, right? When you're looking at Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, those are just how good were they in their position group. And I think there's a very fair argument to be made for both of those guys. You got Puka, who was what, third or fourth in the league in receiving yards in the season.
Yes.
He had over 1,500 yards, didn't he? Rookie record for receiving yards, rookie record for receptions. He was phenomenal, and he picked up the load when Cooper Kupp was injured. And then even when Cooper Kupp came back, he was the number one guy. I mean, like it was pretty clear who the best receiver on that football team was. He made insane plays even in the playoffs, and I know that's not going towards the Rookie of the Year category, but it's just that it wasn't like some cupcake year. Like Puka was genuinely phenomenal pretty much every game he played. And really the only times he struggled statistically was when Stafford missed the game against the Packers. I don't think Puka did much against Green Bay, but it's tough to do that when the backup quarterback's in. So I think Puka deserves a lot of credit, and I don't know what the voting scale was. Did you see what the voting was?
I did not check. The only one I checked was MVP.
Yeah, and that one was a pretty dramatic landslide, and we'll get to that in a second. But it should have been close. I don't know if it was or not, but it should have been close for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said about T.J. Watt, like one of the things that makes an MVP or makes a Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, is when you take them off of that football team, what does the unit look like? T.J. Watt, when he's on the field, that is indisputably a top 10 defense every time he's on the football field. When he goes off the field, they are statistically one of the worst defenses. So when you take one player off of the field and it's that dramatic of a shift, that shows the value of that player. Not just their statistics, not just what they are doing on paper, but their importance to just them being on the field, how that impacts everybody. It's kind of like Aaron Donald. He doesn't put up big numbers anymore because he gets double teamed and triple teamed, and he still gets pressures on the quarterback. And that is
And if you take him out of the field, that's one guy they don't have to double and triple team. They don't have to put that much focus onto one guy, and that frees up other players.
Yes, but let's not pretend that the Rams had terrific rookie class of pass rushers. No. What they had was a bunch of rookies that were being overlooked that had Aaron Donald on that D-line with them.
Yes.
Who do you think both guards and the center are going to come down on? They're going to all three of them are going to be on Aaron Donald. Like, there is no reason to guard these rookies that were third, fourth, fifth round picks. But that a lot of them had significant statistical years. So, that is one of the things with T.J. Watt that does separate him from other guys like Khalil Mack back when he was on the Raiders, like Aaron Donald, and of course that's just how important he is to that unit.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I thought T.J. Watt has been robbed now of 2 Defensive Player of the Years. I thought Aaron Donald's last Defensive Player of the Year award.
Yes.
Aaron Donald was terrific that year, but I thought T.J. should have won that one too. I mean, the only one he has to break the sack record to win Defensive Player of the Year. That's insane to me.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane that is the bar that we're setting. You have to tie or break. And by the way, I don't know why they didn't count one of his sacks against the Ravens as a sack in that Week 18. He stripped the ball out of the quarterback's hand, which is a strip sack, which is still a sack. Yeah. And I don't know what the reasoning was. I would love to be informed what the reasoning was for why that wasn't considered a sack.
Yeah, he got
because robbed. I felt like, and I'm pretty sure it was a subjective thing too. Like it was like, oh, we're not going to count it as a sack, right? Like that was a subjective stat adjustment, and I don't understand how it wasn't counted as a sack. He should have the record for sacks in a season.
Yes, absolutely.
So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense why he didn't get that number.
And one of the other big things is not only that they're tied right now, but the sack that Michael Strahan got to get the record
Brett
to
Favre
set that record.
Down.
Brett Favre just laid down.
Brett Favre laid down.
He just let him have it.
Yes.
So that really even sets the bar even higher for what T.J. Watt was able to do because the quarterbacks didn't just give it to him.
And by the way, T.J. Watt missed multiple games in that year.
Yes, he did.
So the 17-game argument is irrelevant because I think he played in 14 of them. 13 and a half, 14.
Yep.
So, and he still did it, and he got robbed of the record.
Yeah.
Like, T.J. Watt is the best defensive player in the NFL. He has been for the last 4 years. Ever since Aaron Donald has been still fantastic, but slightly below his prime. Since that has happened, T.J. Watt's been the best defensive player of the year in the league. He's been robbed now of 2 defensive player of the year awards. He's led the league in sacks 3 times, which no NFL player has ever done. The body of work that this man has put on, and the advanced statistics, and I like advanced statistics, but at the end of the day, if one of the guys is bringing the quarterback to the ground. Sacks are one of the most significant plays in football that a defense can make. Outside of takeaways, sacks is number one. That's how you kill drives. There's not a bigger drive killer. Any quarterback will tell you this. Joe Burrow talks about it. There's not a bigger drive killer than taking a sack. Obviously, they don't matter as much on third down if you're not in field goal range. You're punting regardless. And they don't really matter on fourth down because the drive's over. The quarterback's going to extend the play as long as they have to make a play. But 1st and 10 sacks, 2nd and 5 sacks, those are some of the most impactful plays a defense can make. And TJ Watt makes them consistently.
Yes.
More than anybody, in fact.
Yes.
So, I don't know what we're doing here. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, the anti-TJ Watt narrative that the NFL media and the NFL as a whole has taken on. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all.
It's very strange. I mean, he's a very respectable guy too. Like it's not like it's not like he's doing anything off the field that is making people want to dislike him. Like he is a very genuine guy. Him and his brother both raised terrifically well. Their parents did a terrific job raising not just great football players, but great men. And yeah, there is no reason that people should be hating on him. Like there is no reason at all.
And J.J. Watt was a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year award, and he's one of the most likable guys in the NFL media circle at the moment.
Yes.
There's literally nothing happening in the TJ Watt circle of anything. Family, friends. There was nothing newsworthy that has happened that said, oh, you know what, TJ Watt, screw that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing going on. Except for the uniform he wears. And that's it. That's the only thing you can hold against him.
I mean, like, Myles Garrett's done way worse than TJ Watt has. I don't remember TJ Watt ever hitting someone in the head with their own helmet. And I'm not saying that that's a reason for Myles Garrett not to win Defensive Player of the Year. Obviously, that shouldn't be held against him.
Yeah, let's
2 years ago.
Let's be very clear. That should be a reason for him to win Defensive Player of the Year.
he's getting in the head of the opposing quarterbacks.
Exactly.
He's intimidating them, and that's why his pressure numbers are so good. He puts the pressure on them even when he's not even, sacking them.
Yeah, you want a reason why Mason Rudolph has not had the starting job up until the last couple weeks of the season? That's why. There you go. Now we have a real reason.
He's terrified. Mason Rudolph is lost in the sauce.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to Offensive Player of the Year. I think well-deserved. Yeah?
Yes, agreed. I don't even think there was an argument. After Tyreek Hill got hurt, I think that finalized exactly who was going to win. Christian McCaffrey, again, MVP finalist as a running back in today's game. I mean, we haven't had an MVP that wasn't a quarterback since Adrian Peterson. That's 2012. It has been way too long. And if you ask me who is the most important player to their offensive unit, I'm going to tell you Christian McCaffrey. Out of every team, out of every player in the league, I'm going to tell you it's Christian McCaffrey because he opens up everything for that offense. But the difficulty, again, we talked about this before the pod, difficulty with giving him MVP is how many MVP level players there are on that team.
Debo, Ayuk, Bosa, Trent Williams, Brock Purdy,
Kittle,
yes.
Fred Warner, like the
and Kittle's, by the way, probably the least impactful weapon on that offense.
Yes. How is that possible?
He's the best tight end in the league.
Yes. Yes, and when you have a unit that has a wide receiver 3 in Jawan Jennings that can make plays that wide receiver 1s on other teams aren't making,
yes,
then what are we talking about? Like, this is just, they collectively are just the best unit offensively that we've ever seen. And obviously they've got a lot of talent on defense. But if you look at what Christian McCaffrey's able to do with his touches, whether it's receiving, whether it's running, he doesn't actually get that many touches relative to what he was getting in Carolina.
Yeah.
But he's doing a lot more with those touches. And yes, it helps that there are players around him to take some attention away.
He's healthy.
And that he's healthy. But, I mean, you don't see running backs produce it like that anymore.
The 49ers are like that scene in the first Incredibles movie when Syndrome's like gonna sell all of his like stuff to make everyone super, and he goes, and when everyone's super, no one will be. That's the 49ers. They're all MVP candidates, so none of them are. It's the same thing, I feel like. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, I actually agree with that 100%.
It's like there's too many stars on that team. None of them can win MVP. I've been beating the Josh Allen drum all year. I think Josh Allen's the most important player to any offense in the NFL. When you look at, first of all, how Stephon Diggs fell off of a cliff the last half of the year.
Absolutely.
And despite Stephon Diggs not even being like a real part of the team, it almost felt like at times, they were still winning games. Josh Allen was still putting up phenomenal numbers. He cleaned up his turnovers in the back half of the year. Now the argument's going to be, but they were 6-6. He put them in that hole. I firmly believe he did not put them in that hole. I think a lot more of that blame falls on the defense, which was decimated with injury. Decimated. Von Miller didn't come back till midseason. I think that's one thing to look at. Von Miller was in and out of the lineup a lot. Tre'Davious White injured.
Yep.
Matt Milano, who's one of the best linebackers in football, he's phenomenal. Out for the year. That is a defense that has had a tough go of it. And yeah, they got a great defensive tackle in Ed Oliver, but there's a lot of holes in that defense. And they played, frankly, horribly to start the year. Outside of some nice performances in their blowout wins against the Raiders, against the Dolphins, against the Commanders. Other than that, defense didn't play well. Struggled mightily to get drove on against bad offenses. They were able to luck out against the Giants, where the Giants had the ball on the 1 yard line to end the first half and the second half. They lost by 6. They came away with no points on both of those possessions.
And let's be very clear. That was a penalty on Darren Waller. He should have had that. That should have been the Giants football game.
Yeah.
And I obviously two votes agree with you that Josh Allen.
I thought it was just MVP. One. It was 49-1, right, from first place.
It was 2. He got 2 first place votes.
Oh, and by the way, Stephen A. Shut up, bro. Stephen A. saying it's an embarrassment. No, it is not. He led the league in yards and touchdowns, and he won his division. And he had what, 1 or 2 less total wins than the Ravens did? They went from 6-6, and he carried them to 11-6, and he played fantastic in that stretch. They only lost to the Eagles because Gabe Davis is an idiot. Otherwise, they would have had 1 more win. Are you telling me? And I don't mind Gabe Davis, but sometimes he just makes wild. I'm not going to say he's an idiot, but he was kind of lost in the sauce.
You already said he's an idiot.
I take it back. I take it back, Gabe. I'm sorry, but he was kind of lost in the sauce on that play. They get a field goal. Jalen Hurts was amazing in the second half of that game, and it's the last game he was really amazing in for the entire year. That offense evaporated after that game. But when you look at Josh Allen's body of work this year, yes, he had a lot of turnovers. He also had the best touchdown to turnover ratio in the NFL. So he was clearly making up for it. He accounted for 44 of his team's 54 total touchdowns. That's insane. If that's not MVP numbers, I don't know what is. You can't make the argument. And then when you look at Lamar Jackson, I get that, yes, his running backs vultured a lot of his touchdowns on the goal line. They handed the ball off a lot on the goal line. That's fine. He accounted for a lot of the yards. He had to lead his team in rushing yards a lot of the times. He is a legitimate MVP candidate, but honestly, I hate all of the MVP candidates this year.
Absolutely.
I think Josh Allen was the best candidate, but I don't think any of them were great candidates.
You know what this MVP slate reminds me of? It reminds me of our political slate. Every year now, where we have people that we are all convincing ourselves, yes, this guy should win. We like this guy. But in reality, what are we doing?
We're losing. That's what we're doing.
Yes, we are all losing.
We're all losing. God, yeah, I think it should be. I think Josh Allen definitely deserves some of the votes. I can live with Lamar being MVP, but this idea that he should have been unanimous is insane to me. The stupid reporter who let bias get in his way, and he stole a unanimous MVP from Lamar. He still won the award, first of all, so why are you crying? And second of all, Josh Allen's 100% deserving.
Yeah, and look, let's be very clear. This isn't like last year where we had somebody cast a vote for Justin Fields.
Yes. Not the same. That was hilarious, by the way.
That's awesome.
It was just a Bears fan that said he hated Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
He said beforehand, I will not vote for him because I don't like his politics. But that's not the quote, but that's essentially what he was saying. And it's like...
Yeah, so, I mean, at the end of the day, like, Josh Allen, he definitely deserved to be second in the running, at the very least. And I agree that I would have been okay if he won it. I mean, what turns a lot of people off is the turnovers, not just the interceptions, but the fumbles.
Yeah.
And... yeah, I mean, I agree that him getting dug into that hole wasn't necessarily all on him. I do think part of it is. I think you have to look at a lot of the crucial situations that he just made bad plays. And early in games when he put them in a hole that was too deep. But what he was able to do in the second half of the year, which according to the awards committee, you only have to play 6 games for it to matter to win an award, right, Joe Flacco? But at the end of the day, you have to look at the end of the year and what he was able to do to put them in position to not just not just win some games, put some games together, not just get them into the playoffs, but put them at the 2 seed, winning their division.
Yes.
Giving them a home game 2 times in the playoffs. That is significant for him to have taken that 6-6 and put them for 2 home games in the playoffs.
People were talking about how the Bills were dead in the water. Josh Allen's not very good. Stephon Diggs, you got to get out of there, man. Trayvon Diggs, get my bro out of there.
Yeah.
He's more of the problem than Josh is. Are you kidding me? Where was he the last 8 games of the season?
Now,
where'd he go? Did he go to Cancun early? What happened?
Let's be very clear. One thing that I noticed a lot, especially in the playoffs, with Ken Dorsey's play calling.
Ken Dorsey got fired. So
not Ken Dorsey. Yeah, that's what I meant. With the play calling was the amount of times that they just put Stephon Diggs on a bubble screen. What are we doing? That is not where Stephon Diggs is his best. He's not Deebo Samuel. This is not a guy that we're going to hand the ball off to in the backfield, that we're going to throw little screens to. This is a guy you want in the open field, running, slants, running outs, running zig routes. He is an elite level route runner.
He's more useful as a route runner than he is a ball carrier.
Absolutely. Sure. And they took that away in a lot of the crucial situations down the stretch. And that was just questionable to me. Like, you need to get a guy like that involved. And the way you're going to get him involved is by having him get, 4 catches for a net 2 yards because your receivers can't block on a bubble screen. Yeah,
it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. I don't really get it. And when I look at the predictability of their offense too with Joe Brady, I'm not totally sold. I mean, Ken Dorsey was probably worse, but
absolutely
not totally sold on Joe Brady either. When you look at Joe Brady, now obviously this doesn't go into impacting MVP at all because it's playoffs, but insanely predictable play calling in the playoffs.
Yes.
When they would go 6 offensive linemen, they drop back the pass 1 time from under center. 6 offensive linemen in each of their playoff games against the Steelers. They ran 6 offensive linemen many times, drop back 1 time. Against the Chiefs, ran it many times, drop back 1 time. They come out of halftime, what do? Back to 6 offensive linemen. Then they score on the opening drive. They don't score again, by the way, after the opening drive of the 3rd quarter against the Chiefs. Yeah. And every time they would go into 6 offensive linemen, no play action, no any kind of a loop, a wrinkle to throw into the offense, to throw the Chiefs off, to keep them on their heels. Nothing. And you'd see the Chiefs sell out to stop this. Sell out. There's linebackers firing through gaps.
Yes.
And it's like, if you pass the ball here, oh my God, is everybody open?
Absolutely. Especially when you have guys that are terrific route runners like Stephon Diggs, like Khalil Shakir.
Yes.
Dalton Kincaid. When you have guys that just know not just how to run their route, but how to run it effectively to get the most open. Like, when you have guys like that, you want to line up, you want to run play action, you want to do things like that, especially if your running game is working. You want to put your team in that situation where you can get one-on-one with one of those guys because they can come down with the ball and they can get a step or 2 on anybody.
Yeah, and it's great when you're running the ball for 180 plus yards, which the Bills did against the Chiefs. The Bills put the blueprint on how to beat the Chiefs. But if you stick to the same thing the entire game, the defense is going to sell out, and eventually you're going to stall out, and eventually having your identity be the run game, which I think is great, and I think that's what teams should do in the playoffs. You got to be able to run the football. It's run game and defense. That's what gets you to the Super Bowl. Chase realized that, and they embraced their run game finally. They refused to do it all season. They embraced it in the playoffs. They're in the Super Bowl. I said heading into the playoffs because I was watching a Brett Coleman video where he did a breakdown. He was like, look, the Chiefs can go to the Super Bowl if they embrace the best part of their offense, and that's not their passing game, it's their run game. They leaned into it in the playoffs. Pacheco got 24 carries in the AFC Championship game against the Ravens. We saw the Ravens do the opposite. For some reason, they thought Lamar Jackson could out Mahomes.
Yeah.
That's never a great idea. Mahomes had 2 more pass attempts than Lamar and a lower yards per attempt, but Lamar was the leading rusher for his team, and he had 8 carries. Control the clock. Run the freaking football. You're the best rushing attack in the NFL against a not very good defense. The Chiefs' run defense?
Horrible run
Chiefs'
defense.
run defense, not good. The secondary is the best part of their defense.
Yes.
Their down-the-field pass defense is the best part of their defense, and it might be the best downfield passing defense in the league.
And when you don't have top-tier receiver talent, not to take anything away from Zay Flowers or Odell, when you don't have top-tier receiver talent and you're going up against 2 of the top 10 corners in the league, that's not even an argument either. They are absolutely 2 of the top 10 corners in the league, L'Jarius Sneed and, oh my gosh, I'm blanking.
Me too. Why am I blanking out on this?
He was literally first team All-Pro this year.
I'm a moron.
Yeah, me too.
Moron.
This is a bad look.
Yes, it is.
Trent
McDuffie. Thank you.
Yes, so Trent McDuffie. When you've got two guys that are that high of a level at corner and you are a great running team, there is no explanation for why you would try to throw the ball.
No.
And that Gus Edwards is going to get, 15 yards on his first carry, and then he's not going to touch the ball again until the third quarter.
It's unbelievable.
Like, what is the mindset there? What is the thinking? Like, there is no logic that goes into that.
And you go, oh, who's a better offensive play caller? Well, just watch the first drives for both of those teams. The Chiefs ran sustainable offense. Yeah, they had to convert a fourth down. I get that. But they got the ball in their playmakers' hands. They ran their identity. They played to their identity as a football team. You watch the Ravens' first offensive drive. How did they score? Lamar Jackson broke a sack, did an amazing job resetting the pocket, bought time, and then he had a one-on-one Zay Flowers on a linebacker, Nick Bolton. So he just lofted it up there. Touchdown. That was the only time the Ravens got in the end zone. Yeah. Now, granted, the Chiefs got in the end zone only one more time. So they didn't do a whole lot better. But when you look at what those teams were doing, the Chiefs ran the ball. They maintained their identity that they established as soon as they hit the playoffs, which is we're going to run the football right down your throat. And then Mahomes is Mahomes. He's going to create plays when he has to, but we're going to be in that structure of get the ball in playmakers' hands. Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, we're going to get the ball to them short in the flat. Let them kind of make people miss. They're both terrific with the ball in their hands after the catch, and we're going to run the ball. A lot of power runs, a lot of shotgun, a lot of motion, misdirection, kind of get a beat on what the defense is doing, and we're just going to go attack you downhill. Pacheco's a hard runner. Get Kelce in the flat. Get Rashee Rice on a slant. Get a screen to him. And then you look at the Ravens. Ravens are trying to attack downfield. Yeah. What are you doing? No. Run the ball. And they ran it so well when they ran it.
Yep, and one of the biggest issues with the Ravens that day, and yes, play calling was a major factor, but typically speaking, Lamar Jackson is a good deep ball thrower.
Yes.
And he was missing.
He missed so many.
He was in his own head, and you could tell every drive he was just frustrated going off the field.
Yes, he was.
Because he knew I should have made that throw.
He missed a lot, yeah.
There was multiple down the left sideline, multiple times where he's got his receiver with 3 or 4 steps on whoever was on him.
Overthrows.
And he overthrows him. Yep. And that's not typical of Lamar Jackson. So what do you do when your quarterback is struggling to hit the ball downfield?
Run the ball.
You run the football. You take the pressure off of him. The thing that they always say about Josh Allen and the Bills in the past few years was you can't rely on him to be Superman every play. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. You cannot rely on Lamar Jackson to be Superman every single play. You have to have support around him. And they finally gave him some receivers this year. And then I guess they just forgot that they have Gus the Bus, who can run downhill, and Justice Hill, who is elusive and quick. And he is the terrific change of pace runner that they have for that team.
Yes.
And honestly, you got to remember, Lamar Jackson, as a runner, is terrific. Where were the read options in the second half? It's not like they were down by 20 points.
That's what they played like.
Yeah, where are the read options? Where are the RPOs? Where are the things that Lamar does well? Where are the things that he's always done well his entire career?
Where are the things that got you to the AFC Championship?
Absolutely.
I don't get... How do you abandon... And Tom Munkin said, I think it's he's like, my wife told me to run what works. Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Maybe your wife should be calling plays, Todd.
Why didn't you do that? Why did you run what doesn't work? I don't understand. And a lot of times I defend play callers because it's like, oh, well, the hindsight's 2020. No. There's no conceivable reason when what you do well is what the opposing defense does worst, and you abandon it.
Yeah.
From the start. They ran the ball well on the opening. They had like a 4th and 1 on like the opening drive, right? 4th and inches. And they run QB power and gash them for 16 yards or something like that. Big run. Yep. And then they have another like power run with Gus Edwards. Crease. Boom. Goes like 15. 2 explosive runs on that play, on that drive. Abandon it.
Yep. It doesn't make any sense, but, kind of circling back to the rest of our awards here.
Yeah.
I think really the only other one that is really worth talking about, obviously, Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think we can agree. Will Anderson Jr.
Will Anderson was...
Clearly deserved it. Jalen Carter had an argument, but Will Anderson statistically...
he was phenomenal.
Yeah, you want to talk about just mainstream statistics, and you want to talk about, like, alternative, in deep, advanced statistics. he just was better in all of those categories.
Yes.
And then coach of the year, personally, I think Kevin Stefanski did deserve it. When you get to your fourth quarterback and you can still lead your team to the playoffs, that is terrific.
Stefanski was definitely deserving.
Yeah, his play calling was awesome, and he understood with each quarterback what style of offense they needed to run. He was breaking down defenses from the sideline really well. Like he was calling the right plays against each and every team. So I think he deserved it. I understand the argument for Dan Campbell, what he's been able to do for Detroit. But personally, I think they got it right.
See, I'm more in the Dan Campbell or D'Amico Ryans camp. I think there were 3 phenomenal candidates.
Absolutely.
For Coach of the Year this year. I think you couldn't go wrong. My reaction was more negative last night. Oh, it should have been Dan Campbell or it should have been D'Amico Ryans. My problem is Dan Campbell got so many less votes than D'Amico Ryans and Stefanski. Stefanski and Ryans were super close, but they were miles ahead of how many votes Campbell got. I thought it should have been damn near a 3-way tie between those 3 guys.
I couldn't agree more.
And for me, I felt like Stefanski was the 3rd guy, but you can make a great argument for him being 1. Because like you said, to adapt to the play style of 4 different quarterbacks is wildly impressive. Like
Absolutely.
To be able to understand the identity of your team and how it has to shift, losing Nick Chubb, and then you lose your starting quarterback in Deshaun Watson. And okay, how do we want to go with PJ Walker? And then you've got DTR. And then you bring in Flacco. And it's a different identity for each of those 4 quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
And you pretty much master it. I mean, Flacco came in and you coached the comeback player of the year. He was just on his couch talking about his kids and stuff, and now he's throwing 13 touchdowns, 8 picks, and 1,600 yards in 5 games. Like, that's wildly impressive to then have Flacco, average over 300 yards passing per game after not playing football for over a year.
Yeah, and then if you really want to break it down, if you were to put the 4 quarterbacks that played for them this year and put them into the Madden archetypes, like, you could honestly say they had one of each. Like, honestly, like Joe Flacco, traditional field general, he's that kind of guy, turned into kind of a gunslinger this year. That really wasn't what he was back in Baltimore, but he kind of leaned into that. He was kind of playing with a loosey-goosey,
house money kind of attitude.
Yeah, like, I'm not even supposed to be here right now, so let's just play.
And it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, then DTR, your traditional scrambler, Deshaun Watson, improviser, and then, honestly, PJ Walker, you could say he's a scrambler, but he throws a really pretty deep ball. So I'd say he's a strong arm, throw the ball deep kind of guy. And for Kevin Stefanski to adapt the entire offense, not just the passing game, but also the way that they ran the ball with Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt to whichever quarterback they had was terrific.
It was
Absolutely
a masterclass of play calling.
Yes.
And I think we need to bring up in that same category Kevin O'Connell. What he did. Now, obviously, his team didn't make the playoffs. He's obviously not Coach of the Year candidate. He could have been if they made the playoffs. But he did a semi-similar thing to Stefanski, losing his wide receiver 1, not having a great running game. Alexander Madison, tons of turnovers.
Cam Akers, when they got him, went down pretty quick.
Went down very quickly. Poor Cam Akers, bro. That man has no luck whatsoever.
Yes, he gets injured no matter what.
It's insane to me how that happens. And then you look at, Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles. And now you go on a winning streak with Josh Dobbs, who obviously lightning in a bottle when it went away fast.
Yep.
But what he was able to do to change his offense in a way that was effective for Josh Dobbs temporarily. And Josh Dobbs is a temporary quarterback. We knew that was going to happen because we just saw him do it in Arizona. Oh, he's good, now he sucks. And then, oh, he's good, now he sucks. He went from pastronaut to astronaut super fast both times. But it was super cool for that time. When I say astronaut, ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understood what you meant. I understood.
He didn't laugh at my joke, guys. So to see them do that was wildly impressive. So I just wanted to kind of throw a bone to Kevin O'Connell. I feel like he deserves it. Obviously not Coach of the Year candidate, but terrific job by him.
Yeah.
For me, Dan Campbell was probably my front runner. But if you want to talk about D'Amico Ryans, how about coaching the 2 offensive rookie of the years and leading a team that just had the number 1 pick to the playoffs and winning the division? I don't know if there is a better argument.
Well, should have had the number 1 overall pick. They had number
2. That's right. They did have number 2.
Yes.
They sold.
They were supposed
They
to
gave
have.
it to the Bears. I forgot about that. And the Bears obviously traded the Panthers.
Yes, and you got to remember
Davis Mills, 4th and 20.
You got to remember who their coach was at the time. Former Bears defensive coordinator. So that even adds another layer to that conversation.
Yes.
But that is not important, obviously.
Lovie Smith.
Yes, Lovie Smith is Bears legend for that one.
Mm. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Does that cover the NFL honors?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We did our classic little get off topic ramble about something.
Yep.
That's
ADHD.
the classic. That's the classic right there. That's what we do best. All right, let's get into the next topic here. We've got keys to win. We kind of touched base on it when we were talking about what the Chiefs did against the Ravens, what they did against the Bills, what was done to their defense. I think it's pretty clear when you talk about what the Chiefs' key to victory is offensively. Run the football efficiently, control the clock. Keep the ball out of that opposing offense's hands with the playmakers. Defensively, there's too many weapons to defend.
Yes.
You're going to have to get pressure on Brock Purdy. Interior rush in his face. You can knock down some passes. Chris Jones, fantastic at knocking down passes.
And importantly, not just pressure, because Brock Purdy is the best quarterback against pressure this season. He had a passer rating of 113 when he's under pressure. So you cannot just put him under pressure. You have to hit him, and you have to hit him hard. You have to make him feel it early in the game.
Yes, early and often.
Chris Jones has to be right in his face. You got to run blitzes downhill with Nick Bolton coming right in his face. You got to hit him and make him feel it early in the game. You're so immature. You're so immature. But yes.
I was just thinking of like the NFL commentator that was like, I think McPherson was like kicking a field goal and he was like, you gotta love it when a guy is coming downhill and just comes in your face. And I was like,
I remember that.
I was like, you said what now?
I remember that. I had a conversation with a family member of mine, and we were talking about how there has to be some secret like pot that they have together of money for whoever can slip in the most absolutely sus comments into a football game. Yes, it has to be a thing with all the networks coming together, putting a bunch of money in a pile, and saying whoever comes up with whoever can slip the most things in wins.
Either that or praising Mahomes too much.
Yes, absolutely.
Look a little Mahomey, Jim!
Look at that incompletion. Excellent job by Mahomes to not force it into coverage.
Chris Collinsworth. And what does he do? What does he do the following drive? He says Trevor Lawrence overthrew a deep ball that hit his receiver.
Yeah.
It was just a little overthrown.
Yep.
Just a little overthrown, Al. Yeah, it was. You're right, Chris. No, but yeah, Chiefs' key to victory has got to be squeeze the pocket. You got to get those tackles back. And hopefully, for the Niners' sake, you get Jawan Taylor jumping. He's jumpy. He's the most penalized player in the NFL. Take advantage of those. When they get put in first and long situations because of false starts or illegal formations because he's lined up 3 yards off the ball, you got to take advantage of that. Get the Chiefs in passing situations and pin your ears back and send the dogs at them. It's got to be squeeze the pocket with that 4-man rush. Chase Young and Nick Bosa have to get those tackles to compress on Mahomes.
Yes.
You can't let him out of the pocket. You got to come up with some good pass rush stunts in there. Take advantage of 3rd and long. Get those looping pulls with the ends and the tackles. Create confusion on that offensive line because the interior of the offensive line is really good, but those tackles, questionable. So got to exploit the tackles, squeeze the pocket.
Yes, we saw it against when the 49ers played the Ravens. We saw them try to come downhill and actually pass rush Lamar Jackson instead of containing him. It's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes isn't going to take off and juke out everybody on the field. But what he's going to do is he's going to escape the pocket and roll out and throw a pass that shouldn't be possible, and he's going to put it on the money.
Yes.
And that is because of teams like the 49ers just bringing the heat and trying to sack the quarterback. It's not about sacking Mahomes. It's about making him uncomfortable, trapping him in the pocket. He's going to make great plays in the pocket anyways. You can't stop Patrick Mahomes. But what you can do is stop him from doing what he does best, which is rolling out extending plays and making throws in coverage that not many people have ever been able to make. So, like you said, one of the keys for the Chiefs is definitely the run game as well as the 49ers, but specifically for the Chiefs. Both teams, terrible run defenses this year, statistically. And Pacheco, this offseason, in the 3 games they played, the lowest amount of yardage he had was 68 rushing yards. That is a key part of their offense, not just in the playoffs, but this entire season. So Isaiah Pacheco has to be involved. You're going to get Jerick McKinnon back this week, hopefully. It's sounding like he's trending in that direction. So getting that entire backfield, as well as Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is a great back to throw in certain situations, getting the running game going, draining that clock, and then letting Mahomes do Mahomes things. Just let him be the game manager. Now, obviously, that huge conversation, game manager versus game changer.
That's what Mahomes has been this year, and it's okay.
He's
like,
been a
it's
game
not an
manager.
indictment on him, but that's what he's had to be.
No, he's not going to be an MVP. He wasn't going to win MVP this year.
Yeah.
But he's going to probably walk away with another ring because of his ability to just manage the game and his ability to be okay handing the ball to Isaiah Pacheco 24 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a lot different than what we saw from the Chiefs in the past with Patrick Mahomes. And this is what you see with true dynasties. This is what you saw with the Patriots. You see they just have to adapt to what their new situation is. And that's what the Chiefs have done. And full credit to Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo on the defensive side to adjust to the personnel that they have on the field. And
Spags has been fantastic all year.
Absolutely.
All year he's been fantastic.
It is so frustrating to me that he is never talked about in head coaching circles because he is, without a doubt, one of the greatest defensive minds in the game.
He did the same. He shut down Brady twice in the Super Bowl with the Giants. Or it might have been just once. I don't know if he was there for both Super Bowls, but I know he was there for one of them and did a damn good job on one of the best offenses in the league. I don't know which Patriots Super Bowl was. It may have been the 50 touchdown year with Moss. I'm not totally sure, but I know he was there and shut down a great Brady offense.
In any situation, it's Tom Brady and it's in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the greatest playoff quarterback of all time.
Yes.
So far. Mahomes might catch him.
If anyone has a chance, it's Mahomes. Mahomes he's certainly on pace to.
Absolutely. I mean, he's ahead of the pace.
And the question with Mahomes is always just not is he on pace, because he's obviously on pace. It's can you maintain that pace?
Yes.
Because there's been guys that have struck that pace before for a short stint. Not 6 years, but for like 3 or 4 years. But then it fizzles out. The flame kind of dies at some point unless you're Tom Brady. So maintaining that pace is almost impossible to do. And that's why I keep saying pump the brakes on his all-time rankings. We'll get to that in a second. Just because let the man play his career.
Yeah, and then we want to attack the 49ers a little more. One statistic that I think really highlights Brock Purdy is he had 11 interceptions this year.
Yes.
9 of the 11 came in losses. Games that the team lost. 9 of the 11 interceptions. That means only 2 other interceptions that were in games that they won. So that is a key statistic to the 49ers' success. When Brock Purdy takes care of the football, doesn't try to force it into coverage, honestly, they always win. when he is able to be not just that game manager like we always talk about, but when he's able to understand my first read's not there, my second read's not there, I got to take off. That part of his game that's developed over the last second half here of the year has really elevated him to truly being one of the best game managers in the league. And that is not, again, very strongly, I think you agree, game manager is not an insult at all. Game manager is what you want your quarterback to be. And yes, you want some game-changing moments, but most of the time, you just want your quarterback to drop back and make the right throw at the right time. And Brock Purdy is terrific at that.
And by the way, Purdy, the idea that you can be a game manager and a game changer at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly what you said. You want your quarterback to manage the game. What, you want him to be unaware of situations and do stupid plays that cost you the game? Is that what you want?
Cam Newton! I'm sorry, Cam.
True.
I love you, Cam. I really do.
But, when you watch Brock Purdy play football, the off-schedule plays are there. He makes them pretty much every game. He'll make multiple off-schedule plays. This idea that he is confined to the pocket, and it's Kyle Shanahan's system, and everyone's open, and the protection's perfect, and he's got all day to throw. The offensive line ranked 27th in the league in pressures allowed. It was not a good offensive line. This idea that because they have Trent Williams, it's the best. His left side is protected. Left guard, center, right tackle. Tons of mid. Tons of it. They don't block well in pass protection. It's not a good pass protecting offensive line. And a good chunk of Brock Purdy's highlights come with him being under pressure and delivering a throw under pressure. Or extending plays out of the pocket and delivering an accurate ball And then, what happens? What happens, by the way, when he throws the ball into coverage and it gets completed? He got bailed out by his players. Well, what about the awesome throw he just made over the top of a linebacker in front of a safety? And yeah, his player made a good play. That's how you win football games.
Yes. I remember.
No one talks about how Brady got bailed out by Julian Edelman because the ball got tipped in the air. They talk about how Brady's great comeback. But then when you watch Brock Purdy and the 49ers play, he was bailed out by this and that and then and then. It's like, well, he still made the plays.
Yeah, specifically one play I remember. I can't remember who it was against, but he's able to escape the pressure, roll out to the left side, and throw this pass as he's getting just nailed in the chest to Christian McCaffrey. And nobody's talking about how he was able to extend the play and make something happen. Everybody's talking about, oh, he way underthrew McCaffrey. McCaffrey really had to fight to get into the end zone after that. No. No. Most quarterbacks in the league aren't going to make that play in the first place. He was off balance, off center, rolling out to his left as a right-handed quarterback and getting hit in the chest as he releases it. It's a miracle that he got it to Christian McCaffrey, wide open or not.
Yes. I don't understand why everyone tries so hard to tear down Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes.
Like, how badly do you want this man to fail? It's so strange to me. Because I don't really try to see anyone fail, and to see how badly people want to see Brock Purdy fail. If this was Trey Lance, with the success if Trey Lance had the success Brock Purdy had, oh my God.
Yes.
The amount of praise. Trey Lance, hell, he may have won MVP.
It's possible.
With the numbers that Brock Purdy put up. The narrative around Brock Purdy, simply because he wasn't traded up in the draft with 3 picks. He was the last pick in the draft. And yes, we just watched the team last year in the NFC Championship game play without Brock Purdy. How did that go? How did it go? Because last I saw, Josh Johnson didn't do squat. So clearly, not anybody. Not anybody. Yeah. Sam Darnold played and lost to the Rams. And I get that their backups were in, but the Rams backups were in too. Clearly, it's not anybody can run this offense. Because if anybody could run this offense, the Niners would have beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year with Josh Johnson and then gone to the Chiefs. But no, they scored 7 points. And that 7 points that they scored was Christian McCaffrey breaking 4 tackles and hurdling a dude and then drawing in. That was just Christian McCaffrey doing what he does from time to time. You can't deny that, man. But other than that, let's be real here.
I would like to make a specific apology to Brock Purdy. I have had to check myself over the last few weeks, going back and watching film, going back and looking at advanced statistics. I was wrong. You are undoubtedly an elite quarterback.
Thank you.
I just think it's important that I sit here and admit
it's like
I am wrong.
Unanimous. It's Brock Purdy haters unanimous. It's ridiculous.
I'm willing to shift and identify when I've been wrong about something and admit it. And this is one of those situations where I am wrong. Everything that I was critical of Brock Purdy, whether it was throwing under pressure last year, number 1 in the league this year, whether it was his inability to really make more time on a play this year, one of the best in football, his ability to scramble, that never really happened. You didn't even really see that in college.
But then what did he do against the Lions? He put the team on his freaking back in some crucial downs.
And the Packers.
Yep.
In both of these playoff games, he has shown up in crucial situations, scrambling downfield. I mean, you don't expect that from him, and yet he can pull it off. His run against the Packers that he took off and got that huge gain. 2nd
and long, and he set up the 3rd and 1, and McCaffrey put the game away with the touchdown.
He was running 17 miles an hour. Can we talk about that? That is actually really impressive for him. 17 miles an hour for a guy of his stature and a guy that's not looked at as an elite athlete under any circumstance. He took off and ran 17 miles an hour to go get that, to put them in position to get that first. Absolutely incredible. Everything that Brock Purdy, everything that I was critical of him, he's proved me wrong this year. And shout out to you, Brock.
And there's so many obnoxious takes on check down merchant, yak merchant. Led the league in air yards per attempt. He threw the ball downfield more than anybody.
Yes.
Yak merchant. He has a lower yak percentage than 4 of the last 5 MVPs.
Yes, just because we see Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey break every tackle in front of them doesn't mean that Brock Purdy can't hit them downfield as well.
Which, by the way, he did quite often this year. More often than anyone. He was the most explosive. Yes. He was the most explosive passer of the football the entire year.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, I hear it. Jimmy Garoppolo made it to the Super Bowl with a worse offense than this. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo attempted 6 passes in the NFC Championship game. He didn't. Worse offense. They ran the ball for over 200 yards on Green Bay. What do you mean worse offense? I mean, you can tell me about the personnel, and yeah, the personnel the Niners have is technically better on paper this year. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter if the 49ers' entire game plan against the Packers was, Jimmy, do this. Do this, Jimmy. Just hand the ball off every play.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me with a straight face that Jimmy Garoppolo did more for the 49ers than Brock Purdy? Because if that is what you want to say to me, you've lost all credibility. He threw 6 pass attempts against the Packers to go to the Super Bowl. He didn't do anything. And by the way, what happened when Jimmy Garoppolo was asked to make a play in a clutch situation? They turned the ball over and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Yes,
that's what happened.
That is the key differentiating factor. One, obviously, Brock Purdy's ability to run the football, his ability to scramble and buy time. Jimmy Garoppolo can't do that. But the second thing is crucial situations. Brock Purdy, coming into this year, even earlier this year, was being absolutely annihilated for his inability to make a fourth quarter
Can you play
comeback.
from behind? Can you play from behind?
And he showed it in the playoffs.
Yes.
Both games.
Both games.
I can drive downfield in crunch time when it actually matters and win this football game, which at the end of the day is all that matters. If you put the game-winning drive on the field and win the football game, that's all that matters. Coming from a Raiders fan, we used to have a guy named Derek Carr. He loved to put us in situations that we shouldn't win the football game, and then also lead a fourth quarter comeback in a game-winning drive.
Yes.
And Brock Purdy, I don't care if he throws 2 interceptions and only has 100 passing yards in a game. If he leads the game-winning drive at the end of the game and they win the football game, that's still a W, and that's still a W next to his name.
Yep. It's like, I've seen Brock Purdy get more criticism for winning back-to-back playoff games where he was down by 17 points in the divisional round at halftime than I saw Trevor Lawrence get for throwing 4 first-half interceptions against the Chargers.
Unbelievable.
Like, Brock Purdy, yeah, did Brock Purdy contribute to the hole he was in against the Lions? Yeah, sure. He contributed to it. But he wasn't the sole reason for that and being in that hole. Trevor Lawrence was literally the sole reason for them being in that hole. And he still got praised. Brock Purdy, when he does the same thing, what do we talk about? Well, he got carried. By who? By who? Who did he get carried by? Because last I saw, he made the plays that gave them the win. I've seen plenty of phenomenal quarterbacks. And you know what you see when you have a great quarterback? A damn good supporting cast. It's almost like football is a team sport. It's almost like when you drop back to pass. What? It's almost like when you drop back to pass, there's 5 guys in front of you that are blocking the rush, right? So, like, if they're not there, you get hit, and you don't get to throw the ball away. It's almost like you have receivers that have to get open. Do you want this man to magically throw the ball to covered receivers? No. What would happen if he threw an accurate ball to a covered receiver? You'd get on the internet and you'd go, bad read, lucky, the receiver caught it.
Now,
you can't win.
Not to do what I always do and bring up Tua, but I'm going to bring him up. Tua is the same conversation. When he had no help, he put up solid statistics.
Yes.
He wasn't great, but he was solid. Once he gets some help, it's,
carried.
He's a piece of the system. Oh.
Tyreek Hill merchant.
Tyreek Hill is the only reason that offense does anything.
And then Tyreek Hill got hurt, and they dropped 30 on the Jets, which is one of the best passing defense in the NFL.
Secondaries, best pass rushes in the league. Absolutely.
They dropped, 37 on them?
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely destroyed them. So
yes.
The criticism that you see for Tua and Brock Purdy is very similar. And yet, Tua, as much as I love him, he gets a lot more warranted hate than Brock Purdy does.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, absolutely. I can't remember who. It was Chris Long on the Rich Eisen show. He said, which quarterback would you like to have after 2 seconds of a play have gone by? Brock Purdy or Tua? Anybody who says Tua is an absolute moron.
Yeah, they are. That'd be crazy.
Yes, because the way that system is set up, I don't blame Tua for it 100%, but the way that system is set up, it's all about timing. Brock Purdy has timing and an ability to work off script. And that is, yes, embedded in the Kyle Shanahan system. Shanahan puts him in a position to succeed. But
there's times when he's not in a position to succeed, and he still does.
How many
about that
times?
Third down against the Lions on 3rd and 5 where he scrambled out of the pocket, there's a linebacker in his stomach, and he lofts the ball. Everyone, bad decision. How? It's 3rd down. The ball's probably not going to get picked unless something miraculously unlucky happens. Put the ball up over the linebacker who he can see turning and recovering, and let Juwan Jennings go make a freaking play. Was it a phenomenal catch? Yes. But Brock Purdy, instead of getting sacked, instead of just getting tackled and having to punt, what did he do?
His guy.
He trusted his guy. He threw the ball where it had to go because he knew that linebacker was recovering underneath the throw and let his guy go make a freaking play.
Yeah, let me ask this question. How many times do you hear people say, oh, Patrick Mahomes was only good because he had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid calling his plays? Nobody has ever said that.
And by the way, it's a pretty valid argument if you want to say the same thing about Brock Purdy.
We're looking at two quarterbacks that, yes, have a good supporting cast around them. But guess what? Same thing. Great play caller, great weapons, great, at least one elite level offensive lineman. Like, great running game to support. We're looking at the same thing. Now, Brock Purdy is not as physically talented and not as great off script as Patrick Mahomes.
Obviously.
Nobody is. He's one of the greatest of all time in working off script. But if we're going to say that stuff about Brock Purdy, we have to say it about Tua. We have to say it about Patrick Mahomes. And you can't say that about guys like Lamar or Josh Allen. I mean, those guys are doing it by themselves. But if we're going to put Mahomes on this pedestal and ignore the weapons that he has, then we need to put Brock Purdy on a pedestal as well.
Yes. And by no means do I think that Brock Purdy is, like, per se, a top 5 quarterback. But he's shown us this year that he can produce at an elite level.
Yes.
So when you look at what do the 49ers have to do to beat the Chiefs, obviously you're going to establish the run. You have to run the football against this mediocre Chiefs defense. And you're not going to attack downfield maybe as much as you would because this Chiefs secondary is the best secondary probably in the NFL in terms of defending the deep ball, defending downfield passing attacks. So you lean into the run game, but you also let Brock Purdy do his thing. Like, get him out of the pocket a little bit, make sure he's comfortable. And the other thing about Brock Purdy, by the way, that when we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo in the biggest moments, kind of tighten up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Kind of tighten up. Overthrow a deep ball. Bunch of passes batted down. We see the opposite effect with Purdy. Purdy maybe a little nerves early in the game, throws a bad pick against the Lions, throws a ball that should have been maybe even a pick 6 to Darnell Savage, but it was dropped early in the game. Got away with that. Breaks my heart because the Packers probably win that game if that ball gets picked off. Along with some other stuff I could complain about, but that's not what the focus is.
Yep.
A little tight early in games. But would you rather have your guy tight in the first quarter or the fourth quarter? Me personally, I'd much rather him kind of have to work into it a little bit. I mean, Mike Holmgren would talk about this with Favre. He would open the game with kind of like out routes because Favre was prone to overthrowing balls, kind of get jumpy before the game, nerves maybe a little high, prone to overthrowing balls early in games. So let's throw some kind of out routes and stuff. So if you're going to overthrow it, it's going to go high and out of bounds. And then work yourself into the game. Get some confidence, get hit a little bit. And you see Purdy, he gets hit, he pops back up. His mind it's pretty tough.
Yes.
And when you watch a guy who you want someone to be successful in the NFL, look at guys like Mahomes, like Brady. They might have struggled early in the game. Brady struggled mightily against the Falcons, played poorly in that game, threw a pick 6. The second half comes around. He's cool, he's calm, he's collected, he's pissed off, he's ready to go, and they freaking dial in.
Yes.
See the same thing with Purdy. He dialed in the fourth quarter of that Packers playoff game.
That is the most underappreciated trait of Brock Purdy is the ice in his veins, cool, calm, collected. No situation is too big for him. He's just going to go out on the field and he's going to put the ball in the right spot and he's going to make the right decisions most of the time.
Yeah.
And he's going to lead his team down the field. And that's what he does on a consistent basis.
Purdy made big-time throw after big-time throw at the end of that Packers 49ers game. I mean, that throw, that deep dig he threw, that was an ill-advised pass. And he just sneaks this thing right over the fingertips of the undercutting safety and right in front of the over-the-top safety and just drops it. And was it a phenomenal catch? Yeah. Was I pissed off screaming, "You moron, you're so lucky," at the moment that it happened? Of course I was. I'm a salty fan. But at the end of the day, if you want to look me in the eyes and tell me that wasn't a great throw, then we're not watching the same game. He's out there delivering time and time again. A third down, blanket coverage. They get one-on-one with Keyshawn Nixon and Brandon Ayuk. Mismatch central. Keyshawn Nixon does a phenomenal job covering the slant. You cannot be more blanketed than Keyshawn Nixon blanketed Brandon Ayuk. Brock Purdy puts this ball low and away, right out of Keyshawn Nixon's outstretching reach, right into Purdy's stomach, I mean, right into Brandon Ayuk's stomach. They convert. They come back next play. Bam, out route, 15 yards. Another big play. Boom, the offense starts gelling. Second and long comes. What does Purdy do? He sprints out of the pocket, gets it to 3rd and 1. And now you've got a handoff to McCaffrey that gives them the go-ahead touchdown. Purdy made big play after big play after big play in that drive to put them in that position. And that's all you can ask for from a quarterback.
Yes.
You can only nitpick so much. At the end of the day, who's making the plays in the biggest moments? Purdy made them. That's why he's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's important when we're looking at quarterbacks, we have to evaluate that position incredibly differently than any other position.
Yes.
Because you have to nitpick to some extent. You have to look at, okay, Patrick Mahomes in week 1, he's got the ball with an opportunity to lead his team down the field and throws a stupid interception. What was he thinking? Why did he throw the ball there? There is, like, you have to nitpick to some extent, but at the end of the day, what do you want from your quarterback? You want your quarterback to be on a team that has him in position to win the football game at the end. And with Brock Purdy, he's shown that you can trust him to do that.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing with that game is Kadarius Toney. If Kadarius Toney didn't exist, the Chiefs would have beat the Lions in week 1. A pick six, and he dropped the ball that would have put them in game-winning field goal range and put the game away there late in the game.
Let's talk about the fact that if the Chiefs didn't have Kadarius Toney, we might have to talk about Nick Wright being correct about them having a full undefeated season. Because Kadarius Toney and then a little bit of MVS sprinkled in there and Sky Moore are the
Eagles
reasons.
Game was all MVS, man, right?
Yes.
Bulk.
So their uncertainty at wide receiver lost them almost every game in the regular season.
And I know Mahomes had that moment with the Bills. That was bad when he was whining about that call against the Bills. But Mahomes is a class act outside of that. I mean, MVS drops a ball that puts them in position to beat the Eagles, and Mahomes says he has to throw the ball a little better.
Yeah.
No, you don't. That was a perfect throw.
Yeah, but
that's perfect.
That is leadership. That is just to the media, to everybody in the world. I'm going to take responsibility for our loss, and behind the scenes, we're going to work on what happened.
Yeah, that's saying I'm not going to pour gasoline on this fire.
Yes.
I'm going to take the accountability up front and make it very clear, hey, we all need to be better. Yeah, you effed up on that play.
Yeah.
But there were plays I could have done better. There were plays the right tackle could have done better. There were plays everybody could have done better.
Yep.
So let's take a deep breath and move forward and just focus on getting better. That's what leaders do. That's what you see the best do.
Yeah, and speaking of Patrick Mahomes, obviously, huge game for him coming up. This is going to be his 4th Super Bowl that he gets to play in.
In 6 years as a starter.
In 6 years. He hasn't, every year of his career, he's been in the AFC Championship. I mean, this is a guy with an impressive resume. Now, here's a guy. No, I'm not about to be Chris Collinsworth. Not happening. But this is a guy that we're looking at on paper as this is if he wins the Super Bowl this year, this is the single greatest stretch before 30 years old ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's indisputable. There is no argument to be had. Now, the issue with talking about him in terms of all time is that he is still 28 years old.
And he's 65th all-time in yards, and he's 39th all-time in touchdowns.
Yes. A lot of the measures that we hold players to in all-time rankings, we're kind of ignoring with him because of what he's been able to do from a team standpoint and what he has accomplished on paper in terms of awards and in terms of his rings.
And in the film room, watching him play is very impressive as well.
Yes.
And that is a big draw.
Yes, and I think that is one of the things that, for me, has Aaron Rodgers ahead of some guys who maybe have more stable MVPs, maybe have, more rings, is his natural ability. So Patrick Mahomes, that same thing applies. And I think, me personally, you can bring Patrick Mahomes. I think he's indisputably top 10 if he wins the Super Bowl. That's just me personally. I have guys like Drew Brees, guys like John Elway, Roger Staubach, currently in that little gap right in front of him, blocking him from the top 10. And I think he gets a 3rd ring. He's already got 2 MVPs. He would very likely win Super Bowl MVP unless Travis Kelce pops off or Chris Jones pops off. Very likely to see another one of those. And he's the only person to outpace Tom Brady to this point in his career. So
Yeah.
I think
If he wins.
I think if he wins, I don't think we can even talk about him not being top 10. I think you have to respect the fact that he's at least 10th. I think there could be an argument for 5. I'm not personally going to make it, but I'm okay hearing it. I can swallow it as long as people are putting... I see your little smile there. I said swallow it. You're literally so immature. As long as
you weren't supposed to react. I was trying to...
As long as you leave Tom Brady, Joe Montana, and Peyton Manning above him, I can honestly not think you're an idiot for arguing him at 4 if he wins this Super Bowl. I'm not going to agree with that. I'm not going to make that argument myself. But I'm not going to look at somebody who says that like they're a complete moron. Now, if you're Nick Wright and you're saying he's already the greatest quarterback of all time, you're delusional. And that's all there is to it. You cannot be the greatest of all time at anything if you've only played for 6 seasons. I'm sorry. You just can't.
No.
And there's a reason that people...
He'd be the most talented ever.
Absolutely.
Which he is.
Look at Calvin Johnson. Probably the most talented receiver of all time.
Yeah.
But nobody's ever going to say he's the greatest of all time. Because you have a guy like Jerry Rice, who played for 20 years...
and was great pretty much every year.
Every statistic that matters.
Not only does he have it, but he has it by a country mile. It's
Absolutely.
not even close.
Yeah, his receiving career record probably won't ever be touched. That is something that is probably one of the most untouchable things in sports. Kind of like Pete Rose's hits. Like, you're not going to see that. Cal Ripken, I know I'm making baseball references, which is crazy. Cal Ripken's
going over my head. I don't know what's happening.
Games played in a row, consecutive games played. Like, these are the most untouchable records in football. So, but Calvin Johnson, sure, we can talk about him in the top 10 or even the top 5 because of how much of a talent he was, how different he was from everybody else. And I can see that with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you make a fair argument there. For me, I mean, I have very high confidence that Mahomes will finish his career in the top 5. Probably top 3. Probably top 2. Like, especially if he wins. If he wins... Yes, sir, King B. Yes, sir. I just saw the
yeah, I saw.
I love it. I love the confidence. No, but I am very confident Mahomes finishes his career in the top 10, in the top 5, in the top 2 even. Especially if he wins the Super Bowl, I'm very confident top 2. My issue is, like I just said, he's 65th in passing yards. He's 39th in passing touchdowns. He's played 6 years. This is the greatest 6-year stretch, regardless of if he wins the Super Bowl or not.
Absolutely.
It's already the greatest 6-year stretch of any quarterback that has ever played the game. Bar none. But it's 6 years. Tom played over 20. Montana played a while. Went to 4 Super Bowls. And then, by the way, Montana left the 49ers. They booted him out of there. He went to Kansas City. Led the Chiefs to a AFC Championship game.
Yep.
Not a Super Bowl, but an AFC Championship game.
Championship, yep.
Montana was great there. Peyton Manning, 2-2 in the Super Bowl. Has every passing record when he retired. Regarded as maybe the smartest quarterback to ever play the game. That matters a lot. His nickname was the Sheriff. That's a guy who's he's on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
And then you got Johnny Unitas, revolutionized several parts of the passing game.
Yes.
Revolutionized the 4-minute offense. 2-minute drill. So many accomplishments there. And then you look at a guy like Dan Marino, who's considered the greatest pure passer ever.
Yes.
He doesn't have any rings, but when you watch the tape, he has the greatest quarterback season of any quarterback in the history of the league.
Yep.
To shatter. Like, it's not like now when guys throw 50 and it's like, or when Manning threw 55 and he beat the record by 5. Marino beat the passing touchdown record by 12. It was 36 and he threw 48. That's insane. First ever 5,000-yard passing season. And no one did what he did again for over a decade, I think. Or at least, or close to a decade. It was a long time before anyone even sniffed his touchdown number.
Yeah.
And he threw 42 again a couple years later. Marino's the greatest pure passer ever. What he did to the game and revolutionizing the offense puts him in there. Elway went to 5 Super Bowls. Even if he got blown out in 3 of them. He went to 5. He was the MVP for his last ever game. And then it kind of gets a little closer. You've got Aaron in there. You've got Sammy Ball, who needs to be in there.
Absolutely. He absolutely is not respected enough. I can't remember who it was. Was it
Bill Belichick? Bill Belichick gave him a ton of praise
No,
when they were doing the NFL 100.
there was a specific player that like his family was like really, really on top of Sammy Ball and really obsessive. I can't remember who it is. I believe. Oh, it's Ohio State's quarterback that got hurt in the bowl game.
I don't know.
I can't remember his name. He wears Sammy Ball's number because his family is really involved in like they're really big Sammy Ball fans. Because Sammy Ball changed the game in a way that nobody else could ever make that much of an impact, and he popularized forward passing.
Yes,
and that is not something. I mean, nobody can touch that.
He's the most impactful player maybe in the history of the sport.
Absolutely. Because we're not talking about like a guy like Dan Marino who's putting up major statistics. We're not talking about a guy like Tom Brady who won a bunch of rings. We're talking about a guy who took a game that was primarily handing the ball off, almost entirely handing the ball off, and offensive lines just stacked up. There was barely any defensive back play to a guy who's throwing the ball not just a little bit downfield. He's throwing the ball downfield.
He's slinging it.
He's
top 100 and he's top 100 in yards and touchdowns in the history of the league. To play in the 40s and the 50s and the 30s, what was it, 30s and 40s? To play in that time period and have numbers that kind of hold up today.
Yeah.
Like, he's top 100 in passing yards and passing touchdowns. To do that in the time he did it is unbelievable.
Yes.
We're not talking about a guy that revolutionized the way you pass the football. He added passing.
Yes, he popularized passing in football. Like like you said, this isn't the guy who changed the way that we throw the football. It's not like we're not talking about like Lance Allworth and the Chargers
who revolutionized the route tree.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a guy who made throwing the ball forward in a football game popular.
Yes,
because that didn't really exist.
It wasn't a thing. And the Sammy Ball was like, "Hey, what if I like did that?" And then everyone was like,
The rules say I can throw this ball forward, so I'm going to.
Yes.
Yeah, and that absolutely changed the game. But I'm on board with what you're saying with Mahomes. I think that there are a lot of guys in that mix that deserve that recognition. I know you're a big John Elway guy.
Yes.
So like guys in that range, it's difficult. I think anybody who puts him from, let's say, 7 to 12 or 13 is the range that he needs to be in if he wins the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, we still need to talk about that 12 and 13 range because
I think he's in that 13 range right now.
Yes, he is right in that area.
15 to 12 range at the moment is where I feel like he is.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And for me, I'm not saying that 3 Super Bowl wins is not enough for him to be in the top 10. I think if he wins the Super Bowl, I still might not put him in the top 10 now, but I also think if he never goes back to another Super Bowl again, he'll finish his career top 5. Yes. Like, both those things can be true. He just doesn't have the career numbers. Like, football is a team sport, and it's like winning is important to a quarterback's legacy more than any other position, but it's still not like a quarterback stat, you know? Yes. It's a team stat, and it's a really important one, the most important one. But unless you have the most ever, to where it's like, hey, there's a pretty clear common denominator here. He left the football team that was winning, went to another football team that wasn't winning, and then they won. Like, that's... Unless you're Brady and you're doing that, and he has the numbers to back it up also. Like, Brady's number 1 in every passing category. He's the definition of longevity and consistency over time. Mahomes has played 6 years. He doesn't have the all-time numbers in terms of... He has the yards per game. He's on pace.
Let's be very clear. The people that are saying Patrick Mahomes is already the greatest quarterback of all time are blind. They are not actually... They are living too much in the moment, and... recency bias is absolutely destroying them. Where Patrick Mahomes is, if he wins the Super Bowl, is he's nearing the halfway point of the marathon.
Yes. With
reaching Brady. He's not halfway even if he wins the Super Bowl this year. He's just not. Like,
Brady's got 7, he did it with 2 teams.
Yes. And I'm not even talking about Super Bowl rings. I'm just talking about, in general, greatness. I mean, he has to play until he's at least 40. And he has to at least get in the top 5 statistically in passing yards and passing touchdowns. And then we could start having that conversation if he adds a couple more rings after this one
Yeah.
to the mix.
I mean, Brady won a championship at what, 43? He won 2 Super Bowls after he was 40. Come on.
Yeah, you can take Tom Brady, 40 years old and later, and that's a Hall of Fame career in itself.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. That shouldn't be possible.
Yeah,
It should not be
I
possible.
mean, he was the best quarterback in the league after he went to Tampa Bay for a year. I thought Rodgers' second, and I'm a huge Rodgers guy. I thought Rodgers' second of his back-to-back MVPs probably should have been Brady. You're looking at an offense that couldn't run the football. Brady was the entire offense. I mean, that's what I look like.
Yeah.
Most valuable player. Packers had a much better run game. The narrative that was going for Aaron was the fact that was that the year the Cardinals started off 7-0?
That sounds right.
If that was the year, Aaron went in there without Devontae Adams, without Allen Lazard, without Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and beat the 7-0 Cardinals. He managed the game beautifully. And then you got Brady, who got shut out against New Orleans. And Rodgers played horribly against New Orleans, too. They lost way into the Nathan. Way into the Cowboys, America's team. The Packers are America's team, Nathan. That's the answer. That's what Brett Favre says. And as you know, anything Brett Favre says.
Yeah, the welfare criminal.
Oh, crap.
Definitely trust what he says.
Exactly. I'm glad you understand.
But here's the really important piece to this Mahomes conversation. And Nathan, it is not the Cowboys, thank you very much. But it is that he just has not played long enough to be in that conversation as the greatest ever.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And us even talking about it and having to focus on it here is ridiculous. But people live too much in the moment sometimes.
Everyone's looking to crown the next big thing.
Yes.
And it's like, let him play his career. Because he's going to get there. I'm so abundantly confident that
Absolutely.
he's going to get there. If you want to say, okay, best quarterbacks I've ever watched.
Yeah, like most talented quarterbacks.
Most talented quarterbacks.
Yes.
Mahomes is one. He's the most talented quarterback the game has ever seen.
Indisputably.
Yes. And Aaron's probably two.
Yes.
I don't even know if Brady's top 10 in most talented.
No, he's not.
But at the end of the day, that's not what greatness is. That's not what a legacy is.
Yes.
Right?
Greatness
when you look at Mahomes' legacy,
talent.
if Mahomes were to, for some reason, stop playing football after the Super Bowl, and let's say he wins, and he's 3-1 in the Super Bowl, and he's got the numbers he's had, well, he finishes with less than 30,000 career passing yards. He finishes with less than 300 career passing touchdowns. Are you telling me that that's a top 10 quarterback ever? You can make an argument for 10.
Here's what I'll say.
He's not top 5. He's not Dan Marino. He's not Unitas. He's not Manning. He's not Montana. He's not Brady.
Yes, we get too distracted by the talent of players and don't focus on what greatness is. Greatness is the things that put you in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And it's the legacy you leave behind in the game.
Yes, Matthew Stafford, Phillip Rivers, guys like that, so talented. Some of the best passers we've ever seen, just absolutely terrific. But Matthew Stafford, fringe. Like right on the outside, I would say, for the Hall of Fame.
I'd like to
Phillip
see him get
Rivers,
to the NFC Championship game again.
Yes, agreed. Phillip Rivers, he's not even sniffing it. I'm sorry. I love Phillip Rivers.
And he was amazing, but like he's at the end of the day, he was the third or fourth best quarterback in his era.
Yes, and we don't talk about talent. Yes, he was probably the most talented quarterback in that era. But he didn't win the games. He just didn't.
I think he's the most talented quarterback in that era.
Outside of maybe Rodgers, yeah.
Big Ben? Big Ben was pretty darn talented.
I think Phillip Rivers was more naturally talented than Ben Roethlisberger.
Interesting take. And obviously Roethlisberger is going to rank higher than Rivers all time. Roethlisberger went to 3 Super Bowls. He's 2-1 in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And also
that's the greatness conversation.
When you talk about guys that like when you're identifying or evaluating, obviously you're on the field. The film study is important because when you watch Roethlisberger and you watch Rodgers, okay, Roethlisberger has the rings and the Super Bowl appearances, but then Aaron's got the MVPs, and you watch Aaron play and you go, oh, Aaron's better than Ben.
Yes, it's like with the Terry Bradshaw thing. Like Terry Bradshaw, top 20 quarterback all time because he's got 4 rings. And
probably top 15.
He's got pretty good statistics to back up his career. But we would never talk about him as top 10 despite having 4 Super Bowl rings because
unless you're Mad Dog, but he also put Mahomes at 1, so he's kind of
he's called Mad Dog for a reason. I mean, that guy is batshit. I mean, wow.
It's one of the dumbest rankings I've ever seen. It was so stupid.
That they really said, okay, people loved Max Kellerman's craziness. Let's bring in a guy that's even crazier than Max Kellerman.
And even dumber, maybe.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Max Kellerman had been saying Brady was going to fall off soon since like 2015.
I remember,
and the dude went on to win 3 or 4 more Super Bowls.
I remember Mad Dog had come out and said that Shaquille O'Neal was not a top 5 center of all time. And that is the craziest thing I have ever heard in my entire life. Not that he's not a top 5 player all time, that he's not a top 5 center of all time.
That's
that is
hilarious.
The stupidest conversation we could ever try to have. Like, that is horrible.
And that's why it's like the sports journalism in today's era isn't real journalism. It's just a bunch of blowhards yelling about stuff that everyone else disagrees with.
Yes.
And everyone gets mad and goes, you can't say that because you're wrong. And it's like, yeah, they are wrong, and that's why you're watching them, because they're wrong. Like, literally, ESPN is just, how incompetent can we be?
Yeah.
And that'll piss people off.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like this trend that we're seeing on YouTube Shorts and on TikTok, where people purposefully pronounce things wrong, people purposefully type something in wrong, like spell it wrong.
So that people will come in the comments.
Because people are commenting, and the more comments makes it more mainstream, and the more comments that are on something, the more you're going to see it, and the more it's going to pop up in people's feeds. So that is the same thing that we're seeing in sports media today, and not just in sports media, in all media. Whether we're talking about can we just talk about the news, like what's going on in my area? Can you just give me the weather and the traffic? Can we not talk about COVID vaccinations on local news? Like, can we calm down on this? Like, for real.
Channel 5 News, brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah, for real. Like, that's what we're doing nowadays. That's what we're doing. It's ridiculous. Like, Channel 2 recently here in our area, like, still recently was talking about COVID vaccines and why you need to get them.
And it's like, bro,
we're
it's
in
2024.
2024. What are we doing?
We walk forward.
Our media in general is not about reporting the news, reporting the facts, having intelligent conversations anymore.
It will be the day when the Daily News, instead of talking about the medication, tells you to put down the cookies.
For real.
And the McDonald's Big Macs.
Yes.
And go for a walk. Hop on the treadmill. I think that's way more impactful for your health. Here's some real health advice.
We're going to get canceled for this.
Take care of yourself, dude. Like, it's not that hard.
Yes.
God. I'm big boned.
The fat phobia is real.
No, that's not what I'm trying to do. But, like, my point is, if you're so health conscious, if you're so concerned with everyone else's well-being,
yes,
we could find a loophole around the vaccines and the masks and the medication. It wouldn't be nearly as needed.
I think we're getting a little political here. Let's veer back to football.
This is your fault. This is your fault.
I know.
Connor.
I just wanted to mention it as like the media in general in our society today won't focus on the information,
the helpful things,
and just talking knowledgeably to each other. That's just our society today. We can't have an intelligent conversation. We have to say the most batshit crazy stuff we can to get attention, and that's sad, especially in our sports media. It's taking some of the integrity out of it.
I 100% agree. Stephen A. Smith just sits there and yells.
Yes.
The Detroit Lions are a top 5 football team. No, they're not. Stop it. What are you doing?
The only thing Stephen A. does
he
well...
ranked them one time.
The only thing Stephen A. does well, and we can talk about the America's team here, is...
Make fun of the Cowboys.
When the Cowboys lose, and he puts a cowboy hat on, is just laughing and laughing.
I love when he's like under a Christmas tree, like in his house, and he's like smoking a cigar.
Yes, that's my favorite.
How about them Cowboys?
That's the only thing that he's actually good for. Otherwise, yes, he just yells at the TV.
Dude, it pisses me off because he clearly doesn't know ball.
And
then he goes on and he rants about how he does know ball. He's like, Nathan, chill. Okay. Nathan, relax.
All right. You know what? I want to address that. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you.
Make-a-wish fake part.
Damar Hamlin, we're going to go back to the NFL honors here because I think this is an important conversation. What Damar Hamlin was able to do to come back and make his way back to a football field in any capacity is remarkable.
Yes.
However, to win Comeback Player of the Year, you have to make a significant impact on your team. The only impact that Damar Hamlin had the entire year, the only impact he had was that stupid fake punt, the Make-A-Wish punt.
Well, don't forget the ambulance. The ambulance, man.
Unbelievable. But he did not make enough of an impact to, in my opinion, even be a finalist for that award. The only reason they did that was to make themselves look good.
And by the way, guys, my angle here, and Connor's too, it's not to make fun of Damar Hamlin, even though I said the ambulance. But the angle here is not mock Damar Hamlin. The man died on the football field.
Yes.
Like, we're not over here going for low-hanging fruit. But our point is, I'm sure that man would like to move the hell on with his life. I know I wouldn't. I'm sure you wouldn't. The thing that he's known for isn't anything merit-based. It's nothing he has done on the field. I mean, I wouldn't say that because he does have an awesome fundraiser and he's doing phenomenal things in the community.
Yes.
He seems like a great person. But the thing so I wouldn't say the only merit-based thing he's done. I won't say that. But the thing he's recognized for, the thing he's talked about for more than anything is, and then you got Mike Tirico. Well, maybe he had closure tonight. Only he can know. And it's like, bro, shut up. You're not narrating a Hallmark movie. Stop it. Like, let the man move on with his life and have there be something else. Special teams, special players, special plays, guys. Fake punt was enough to win it. Nathan, chill out. But I'm sure the guy would love to move on with his life and have the thing he's known for not be dying on the football field.
Yes, absolutely.
I know I wouldn't. And it's really cool that he had that moment in the NFL Honors last year where he got to speak.
Yes.
But to drag it on through 2 straight years now, it's like, let the man live. Because there's more to Damar Hamlin than the fact that his heart stopped on a football field.
Absolutely.
And that's my problem with it. It's not... I'm not trying to make fun of and tear down Damar Hamlin. Because there's nothing that man has done that says, oh, you piece of garbage, I hate you. Like, I don't hate Damar Hamlin. The fact that he's able to return to football is an awesome story.
And it's a testament to his personal toughness.
Yes.
So...
And the fundraisers he's done. And the things he's done for the community. Seems like a terrific human. It'd be awesome if we could focus on that more. And honestly, he just shouldn't get that much media coverage in general. Because he's not a very good NFL player. So if you're going to talk about him, talk about the good things he's done in the community. But at the end of the day, he doesn't need as much media time. And he probably feels like he shouldn't have as much media time. I know if I were in that position, I would love to earn the media time I've had for more than just the fact that something super unfortunate happened to me and I was able to recover from it.
Yes, and especially if you have made an impact off the field, that you're involved in your community. Like in the way that Damar Hamlin is. Like his charity, just in the time that he was in the hospital, raised like $6 million.
Yes, and
like,
that's awesome.
That's a testament not only to him and people knowing that he is a good human
Bill's
being.
Mafia.
But that's a testament to just the NFL community in general. I know I donated. I just, like, when you see something like that happen, it's just like anything else in our society. Everybody comes together and tries to make it better. Tries to clean everything up. And that is what we saw. And yeah, Damar Hamlin, I'm sure he would love for the conversation to be more about that and more about the man that he is and the son that he is to his mother than that the fact that his heart stopped on a freak accident play on the football field.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure Harry Potter wasn't a big fan of always being known as the boy who lived, and it's kind of, is that messed up? Is that?
No, honestly, I kind of see where you're going with that. Yeah.
Damar Hamlin, he doesn't have a big scar on his forehead, but every time someone sees him, he's the one that died on the football field.
How do you think
how much fun do you think that is?
How do we think Joe Theismann feels that he's always going to be known for his freak leg injury? That is anytime you bring up his name, nobody's going to think about his pretty good career he had. That as a quarterback, everybody's just going to think about the fact that Lawrence Taylor blew out his leg, and that is the only thing that he's going to be remembered for. Let's not make that what Damar Hamlin's remembered for.
Don't you hate when crackheads go for the knees?
Okay, the Super Bowl.
Maybe Lawrence Taylor thought that Theismann was a dealer that wasn't giving him his crack.
Okay, let's move on. The Super Bowl. So
Dude, he talked about it in interviews openly. He's like, yeah, I was doing crack before games. He was like, I drove by the stadium one time and I remembered I had a game and it was halftime. Like, what? You did what? Why is there so much traffic? Because you're supposed to be on the field, dude.
greatest defender of all time.
The greatest defender of all time was a crackhead. That blows my mind.
That's crazy.
The 80s were crazy.
The 80s
were crazy. I'm just reading Nathan's comment in Sketch's voice over and over again. Special teams, special plays, special players. Let's go, guys. Have you seen?
No, I have not.
Okay, he's like this dude that does Madden TikToks,
Okay.
and he has Tourette's. So you'll see him like pre-snap. He like yells a bunch of audibles out for no reason. Like check scholar, and he always goes like I can't get in it like this.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, he does that a ton. So yeah, he's popular. Anyway,
That's actually pretty cool. Actually.
yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's winning? I know I made a TikTok right after the Chiefs beat the Ravens where I said that I've learned my lesson from not picking against Mahomes.
Are you gonna pick against Mahomes?
One more time. Yeah. I probably just won the Chiefs the Super Bowl, but I am gonna go with the 49ers. They're objectively the better roster. I know if this happens, this goes against a lot of history because Kyle Shanahan is the fourth coach. Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan are the fourth time that two coaches have played against each other twice in the Super Bowl. And the previous three times was this coach for the Steelers at the time when Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls, and the coach for the Cowboys. That was Tom Landry, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it would have been. What's going on here? What's happening? Does that show up on the stream, I wonder?
Don't know. Maybe
Because I don't know what effect that is, and I don't know why it just happened. But fireworks just... It
just gave a thumbs up for no reason.
Why is there a thumbs up? Yep. Hang on. That's
Balloons?
so weird.
Yeah, these are FaceTime things.
What's happening? Firework.
No, like I don't remember what it is.
Like that?
Might be this. I don't remember. But yeah, if you want to do balloons, you just put a peace sign up.
I'm so confused.
Put a peace sign up. Like hold it up.
I'm sorry that we're getting off topic, guys. But I'm like bamboozled right now. I was not. Why is OBS? Anyway.
Yeah, this is stuff that happens on FaceTime. So like, this is very strange that it's happening on this, but whatever.
Anyway, what I expect the 49ers to do is they're not going to pull a Todd Monken. I mean, the Chiefs' offense. Stop! No. No.
Okay. The Chiefs' offense.
The Chiefs' offense was held to 17 points in the Ravens game. The 49ers, the Ravens probably did something that the 49ers can go, hey, the 49ers have really good personnel. They got phenomenal corners, a fantastic pass rush, a great front seven, the best linebacker duo in the NFL. They can stop the run effectively. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher. What is the thing? Oh. Damn it. It's just me. It's just my hand talking. It's not even, I don't even have control. Like, it's just how I talk with my hands. And I'm getting I almost did it again. I'm getting pissed. I'm so... The screen turned black then?
No. Oh, no.
Post it to my Instagram.
Yeah, let's all post a black,
all right.
black picture.
I'm going to lose so many subscribers. I already don't have any, and I'm going to lose all the ones I have. I was like, my brain, as I was making the joke, was like, don't make the joke, don't make the joke, don't say it, don't say that, don't say black square, don't say black screen, and I was like, is that gonna... Anyway, can I just lock in here and get on topic?
Hello, everybody. We would like to apologize for our behavior and the things that we said.
This feels like Andrew Tate's disclaimer.
Oh, no.
Read the disclaimer, Andrew. Read the disclaimer. Everything Andrew says is wrong, and the COVID vaccine is good for you. That was a part of the disclaimer. It was like all this stuff that like obviously he doesn't say, and at the end it was women drive very well. It was the end of the disclaimer. So it was...
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways, 49ers.
That TikTok's hilarious. Yeah. I'm incapable of staying on topic. Yeah, I have the Niners winning. My expectation is they'll be able to run the football effectively. Unlike the Ravens, someone commented when I was ripping on the Ravens game plan, saying the Chiefs sold out to stop the run, and Spag said it was a part of their game plan. Well, obviously it's part of their game plan. It's the number one rushing offense, but they didn't stop the run. The Ravens ran the ball incredibly well when they did run it. They just refused to stick to it. I think Kyle Shanahan has a higher brain cell count than Todd Monken, hopefully.
Hope so.
Todd Monken's been fantastic all year just to do that. I don't get it. But to focus on the Niners, they run the ball very well. Heavy in motion, heavy in misdirection. When you watch what the Packers did to the Chiefs, the Packers scored more points against the Chiefs than anyone all year. They're the only team to score more than 24 points than the Chiefs. They scored 27. The 49ers are very similar offensively in terms of their game plan, in terms of how they run their offense to the Packers. When I watch the Packers offense, I mean, they both come from the same coaching tree. Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur coached together for years.
Yes.
Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Matt LaFleur was the quarterback coach when Matt Ryan won his MVP. They coached together in Washington. And then Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator for the Titans, obviously, and then he came to Green Bay. Very similar offensive systems. Green Bay has shown the blueprint and how to be most effective against the Chiefs. Tons of misdirection. Keep those linebackers on their heels. You can attack them downfield. You can. But you have to have a good mix. Run the ball effectively. Packers were able to do that. Niners have a better running back. Niners have probably a worse overall offensive line as a unit. Packers' offensive line came together, especially late in the season, played terrific. But they've got a quarterback who's executing well, better receivers. You can tell who the better play caller is. It is Kyle Shanahan's better than Matt LaFleur, even though Matt LaFleur was fabulous in the back half of the year.
Yes.
But when you watch the Packers 49ers game, you go, oh, the better play caller is the one that is coaching the team in red. Like, that's...
Absolutely.
Yeah, you saw that. McCaffrey, as great as Aaron Jones is, and Aaron Jones is terrific, and he was finally healthy at the back end of at the end of the season for the first time in a while. You see the way they use McCaffrey, and you go, oh, he's more versatile.
Yes.
He's a more explosive runner. He's stronger. He's basically a better version of Aaron Jones. They do the same things for the most part. He's a little quicker. He's a little, maybe not as fast, maybe faster, stronger runner. They can use their guys more effectively. There's more versatility. You can attack them in the flats. That's what you want to see the 49ers do offensively. Run the football, control the game, be able to pass the ball on first down, use play action. Do what they've done all year. Do what they've done in the playoffs. Keep that game plan. Ideally, Purdy's had 2 weeks. I'm sure the nerves will show because they showed in the playoffs. So I'm sure Purdy might start off rough. Don't do anything back-breaking. And then just play your game plan. The 49ers should do what they've done all year. It's going to work on the Chiefs because that's the kind of offense that's best against the Chiefs. Go ahead. Take it away.
I am going to do what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
I am never going to pick against Patrick Mahomes ever again. If there's a game that the other team is favored by 80 points, I'm still going to take Patrick Mahomes, even if he's out there on the field by himself, because I'm not going to make the same mistake ever again. And as a Raiders fan, I have to watch this guy play. Right, I got to watch this guy destroy my team twice a year, outside of on Christmas. Merry Christmas. Best Christmas present I could have received. So I'm not going to pick against him anymore. And just the things that he's able to do, he's put in a situation that's impossible to get out of. He's under pressure. There's no way he's going to get this ball out of his hands, and he just makes the play. And, I mean, we saw it last week, that play to Travis Kelce where he buys 9 seconds. And that shouldn't be possible. That just shouldn't be possible. And yet it is with him. He's one of the only players that can make a play like that on a consistent basis, in fact. Yeah. So I agree with everything you said about the 49ers, and the way that their offense is set up is perfect to play against the Chiefs defense. But it's Patrick Mahomes, and I'm done being the idiot that's choosing against Patrick Mahomes in the same way that I was the dumb idiot picking against Tom Brady. I'm going to learn my lesson here.
It's funny because I knew not to pick against Tom Brady. Well, but for some reason, I'm refusing to learn not to pick against Mahomes.
Yeah,
so.
Chiefs defense didn't give up. On average, gave up less than 14 points a game.
Like 13.5 points per game, which is the best since the 2000 Ravens, right?
Yeah. And the 49ers offense in the playoffs here is giving up more than 28 points a game. So, at the end of the day, you got Patrick Mahomes. He's the most talented quarterback of all time. I'm not going to pick against him. I've got the Chiefs winning the football game 27-21 in a game that is even closer than that score.
Mahomes game-winning drive type of thing.
Absolutely. I think the 49ers, I think Brock Purdy's going to drive it down the field, probably like 3 minutes left, and they're going to put it in, and they're going to give Patrick Mahomes enough time to drive downfield and take the game.
That's reasonable. Yeah. And I will say, though, I think the Chiefs' offense is worse than the two offenses the Niners have faced.
Absolutely.
By a good amount.
I couldn't agree more, but...
Especially with how well... The Packers' offense obviously is terrible the first 9 weeks of the season, but they hit a freaking stride.
But while the offensive units as a whole have been better for both the Packers and the Lions than the Chiefs, those two teams don't have Patrick Mahomes.
And by the way, if Josh Reynolds could catch, the 49ers wouldn't be in the Super Bowl right
Yes, and if Dan Campbell could kick a field goal, then they wouldn't be in that situation.
I blame Josh Reynolds more. Josh Reynolds dropped the 4th and 2, he dropped the 3rd and 10.
Yes, we can blame Josh Reynolds for the drop. But I said going into both of those situations that they went for it on 4th down, that he would be an idiot to go for it. I'm not one of the people that is using hindsight to make my decision. I, both times going into those plays, said, you're stupid for doing this. You're in a position to put your team back up by 17 and say, ha, your first drive of the second half didn't matter. This is the same coach that kicked the field goal at the end of the first half. That's the part that doesn't add up. He kicked the field goal at the end of the first half and then wasn't willing to do it. He wasn't willing to make that same decision later in the game.
It's a little different.
We want to talk about consistency. We want to talk about all of that he said after the game. This is what our team is. Then that's what your team needs to be always. You can't just say that that's what your team is in some situations and then not do that.
I disagree. I think kicking the field goal at the end of the half is very different.
I think if you have an opportunity to go up 17 again and make it so that nothing changed and other than more clock coming off, then you have the game in your control.
But Dan Campbell also didn't call the Brock Purdy throw a ball directly to the safety that gets tipped in the air and caught by Brandon Ayuk play.
No, absolutely.
He also didn't call the Jahmyr Gibbs fumble the ball and give the 49ers the ball again down 7.
Some weird stuff went down, but from a coaching standpoint, sometimes you just need to look at the game and identify that you can put this game pretty much out of reach once again if you just kick the field goal. And this is way off topic from the Super Bowl, but that is another way that if the Chiefs can get ahead early, which I fully expect, because their first drives are always terrific in every football
Great game planners, especially when you give Andy Reid 2 weeks to prepare.
You have Andy Reid and you have Kyle Shanahan, two of the best initial drive play callers in the league. And you have you have one defense coordinator that is top tier proven but can't stop the strength of the other team in Christian McCaffrey. They can't stop the run. And you have a much less proven defensive coordinator in Wilkes.
He's much worse.
Who is much worse, and his decision making in certain situations.
He's probably got better personnel, but that's what
he definitely has better personnel. But his play calling in crucial situations has been very inconsistent, and I think he's still trying to figure out what their identity is. Which, how do you not know what your identity is in this by the time you're at the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
they haven't figured it out, and I think one of the big keys to the game that nobody is mentioning is if Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw can contain Isaiah Pacheco, then the 49ers will probably win the game.
Yes.
But if they do what they've done all year, and if the Chiefs do what they've been doing to succeed all year, which is run the ball and play the 49ers game the way they want to play it.
I don't think 17 points will be enough to beat the 49ers, so I don't think 17 points is enough.
I think they will score more. Like I said, I have them 27-21. I think that the 49ers offense is going to produce early in the game because they have to. And they can't go into this game against Patrick Mahomes the way they went in against the Packers and the Lions. They just cannot do it.
Yeah.
And you're talking about one of the greatest coaches of all time, and you're talking about the most talented quarterback of all time. You can't start that game the way you started those other two and hope to win.
I think you can, to be honest with you. Because unlike, Mahomes is great. When you look at what they do, they've been pretty consistently terrible in the second half of football games. Their offense. They get shut out against the Dolphins when they went up 20-0, and then most recently, they get shut out against the Ravens after being up 17-7. Like, if you have a coach that can make good halftime adjustments and the personnel, then I know certainly have the personnel to do it. I can certainly see the Chiefs blowing a lead.
It is more than possible.
Honestly, I would almost feel better about the Chiefs losing, about the 49ers winning, if the Chiefs go into halftime tied or with the lead. Because I feel like there's way less urgency.
Again, my best guess is that the 49ers are going to come out hot at the beginning of the game. They probably score a touchdown on their first drive. And that's because they are so locked in on focused on that initial drive and starting the game right because they haven't done it the last few weeks.
They're great game planners.
Absolutely.
Shanahan and Reed are as good as it comes.
Absolutely.
When it comes to game planners.
Brock Purdy, if he is able to keep his cool early in the game and not turn the ball over, then they've got a absolutely real opportunity. And if Brock Purdy doesn't throw in any interceptions and is playing at a high level, they're going to win the game. Do I trust Brock Purdy in this huge situation to play perfect the entire game?
I don't.
Patrick Mahomes? No, I don't at all. And I think that's what it might come down to. You can have all the talent around you, but you're not Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is just different.
Well, I mean, here's what I would say, right? I mean, Mahomes has played in 12 quarters in the Super Bowl. 7 of those quarters have been really bad.
Yes.
He was horrible. And now Tampa Bay kind of is a mulligan because it wasn't that. It's hard to play good football when your tackles get dunked on every single play. But he still didn't play very well in the game. And then against the 49ers, the first time he played them, he was horrible for 3.5 quarters.
Yep.
And then they run jet chip wasp. Holding call, no call on Nick Bosa on a 3rd and 15. Lofts the ball up. Tyreek Hill catches it. Drive Sparks comes back to life. And here we go. And Chiefs come back.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the same thing we were talking about with Brock Purdy earlier. With he can play horrible all game as long as he puts it together at the end of the game. And I don't think that the 49ers can pull out ahead enough for that in-game situation. Patrick Mahomes is going to end up with the ball at some point.
Yeah.
And it's going to be in his hands to win the game.
True.
And I don't think you could put any defense on the field. I don't think you could put a Pro Bowl defense on the field and stop Patrick Mahomes in a 2-minute offense when it matters in a game like this.
It's a fair argument. People say the same thing about Brady, and Brandon Graham hit his arm, and that equals 1.
Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
Anything can happen. Sometimes it's not about stopping Mahomes. Sometimes it's about getting around Juwan Taylor, right? Juwan Taylor, is that his name?
He's the right tackle, yeah.
Sometimes it's just about beating Juwan Taylor off the ball and hitting Mahomes in the right arm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And before the year started, my prediction for the Super Bowl was Dolphins-49ers, and I had the 49ers winning, and I had Nick Bosa as my Super Bowl MVP because I figured if the Dolphins make it there, and they're gonna if the Dolphins were good enough, had a good enough offense to make it there, then the only thing that could stop them is somebody getting in Tyreek Hill's face, and Nick Bosa is the best pass rusher. Yeah, into his face. I think the same rule applies for Patrick Mahomes. I think if Nick Bosa can get home, if he can get 2 sacks and maybe force a fumble on Pacheco or Edwards Hilaire or something, then we could talk about him as Super Bowl MVP if they win.
And by the way, I think when Niners don't beat the Packers without Bosa.
Absolutely not.
Bosa, I mean, you could tell that guy watched this film. I'm sitting there watching the film, and I'm seeing Bosa knew when an inside run was coming. You'd see him kind of pre-snap, kind of start to angle himself a little bit inside of the tackle.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the ball gets snapped, he was off the ball inside, and the tackle was all of a sudden, retreating. Because Zach Tom's done a terrific job at right tackle for Green Bay near the end of the season. But there's a big difference between blocking anybody and blocking Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
So, Nick Bosa made freaking plays. And
Yep.
it was absolutely the difference in the Packers winning or losing that game. And obviously there's a ton of things that happen even in spite of that if Jordan Love hadn't thrown 2 horrible picks and yada, yada, yada. But Bosa is a difference maker, not just in the pass game, because sacks are obviously the cool number, and I talked about how impactful sacks are earlier. But he's also a terrific run defender.
Yes.
And he's very smart. He knows what's going on. He's had 2 weeks to get into the film room and know this Chiefs offense inside and out. Because as terrific as Andy Reid is, Andy Reid's got tendencies too.
Absolutely.
The Chiefs offense does things a certain way. There's things they like to do.
Especially in big games. They have a tendency to fall into certain traps in their own play
And by the
calling.
way, Andy Reid tends to abandon the run in big games.
He does.
And that's if they abandon the run, they will lose. They will lose if they abandon the run.
Absolutely. Isaiah Pacheco is probably the most important player on the Chiefs team in the Super Bowl.
Outside of Mahomes, yeah.
I would say it's Pacheco. Obviously, Mahomes in the big situation is going to have to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But for their key to win, Isaiah Pacheco has to get the football.
Yes.
And for the 49ers...
Early and often.
For the 49ers, McCaffrey is going to be important the same way Mahomes is, but Brock Purdy is what it's going to come down to. Can he make the clutch throw in the clutch situation on 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, in a situation that they have to stay on the field and keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands? It's going to be a great Super Bowl. I think we're outside of last year, we'd had a few Super Bowls in a row that were kind of stinkers. So
yeah, the Tampa one, the first Chiefs Niners was pretty good.
Yes.
And the Rams Bengals was really good.
Yep. But
it was really just and last year's was one of the better Super Bowls we've had in a long time.
It was terrific outside the ending.
Yep. The ending was so anticlimactic, but it was a phenomenal. And it's a bummer to see Hurts be the way he is, because obviously I've been someone, I don't want to call myself a Hurts hater, because I like Jalen Hurts a lot.
Yes.
I like his character. I like his leadership. I'm a fan, honestly. What bothered me was just everyone saying the guys that he was better than. And I'm like, he's not better than Herbert. He's not better than Josh Allen.
Absolutely not.
He's not better than... He's people want to put him in the top 5 right away.
Now,
like,
he outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Jalen Hurts was the best player in that Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And if he doesn't fumble that ball, they win that game.
Yes, and that's the thing. And that's, unfortunately for his legacy, that's what's going to get remembered, is the fact that he fumbled the football. Not the fact that he was phenomenal. Also, what the hell was that Hail Mary?
Yeah.
But other than that, like, he was fantastic. And yet he was 100% the best player in that Super Bowl. 100%. I'm not even sure it was close. Maybe Nick Bolton, you could argue, because he did force the fumble and take it back.
I don't even think it's close with them.
Yeah, it's Jalen Hurts was phenomenal.
Honestly, I think outside of the two of them that you just mentioned, the only other player that you could say was maybe the most important player in that game, and will apply to this game as well, is Chris Jones.
Yes.
If Chris Jones, especially if he's going to be lining up on the edge sometimes, if they're going to move him around like that, and he's going to be able to make an impact.
Which is what you want to do in passing downs, for sure.
Yeah. So if you're able to move him around and utilize him in different ways and still get him to Brock Purdy, I don't even care if he gets a single sack. He, by the way, doesn't have a single sack in the Super Bowl.
He got his first playoff sack ever last year against the Bengals.
Which is wild. It doesn't make any sense for a guy that talented that gets to the quarterback as often as he does.
And by the way, it's not like he's not getting to the quarterback in the playoffs.
No,
he's making his presence known in the playoffs too, every time. Like, he plays great in the playoffs. He just doesn't get the sacks.
Yes, if they are able to keep him on the inside for most of the game and then occasionally slide him out to the left, not to the right. You don't want him trying to go up against Trent Williams.
Yeah.
But you put him on the left, keep him inside majority of the game.
I mean, defensive left. See, in my head, I always picture from the offensive view, and I'm like,
defensive left end.
Yes.
If you bring him downhill from that side, then you could make Brock Purdy. You can really turn this game around if you get him in Brock Purdy's face early and often.
I'm with you 100%. Sorry, I'm sleep deprived. Let's see, it's not.
You're okay.
It's not boredom.
No, you're okay. We've been talking for a hot minute too, so.
Yes, we have. It's been going for 111 minutes, almost 2 hours. Oh. I think we've pretty much covered our stuff, though, man.
Yes, right? We have.
Because I was going to say Purdy's importance to the 49ers' success, but you kind of covered that.
Yeah, we definitely covered that.
We covered that in the middle of somewhere in our off-topic rambling.
We covered it in depth, so yeah.
We did. So yeah, fantastic. And we did not hit our goal of 30 viewers. In fact, there are currently 2 watching now, and one of the 2 is this. So we have 1 current viewer, but
thank you, Nathan.
I'm not even sure if it's still Nathan.
Yeah, probably not.
We hit 3. We hit 3 at one point, but if it is Nathan, I appreciate you. King B commented something about 49ers going to win the Super Bowl. I'm with you on that one. I definitely hope that's the case. So yeah, pretty barren chat. A little disappointing, but this video is going to be up on the YouTube, so everyone can watch it afterwards. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Connor, anything you have to add?
No, I think we really touched on everything we wanted to, and yeah, everybody who got on at some point, thank you so much. I
appreciate the 3 of you that showed up, and if you're watching this video as just on my live section on YouTube, and you're not watching it live, but you've rewatched the whole thing, watched the rerun basically, and you've made it all the way to this part, I appreciate you immensely. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like. I apologize for the short political stint that Connor got me on. I'm going to blame Connor and not myself for the self-control. Accountability is not what we do here.
And the not PC comments that you made a couple times.
No idea what you're talking about. I've never made an unpolitically correct comment in my life. But yeah, I appreciate every one of you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment on any of the things that you disagree with me on. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when I post more videos or when I go live. Again, I appreciate all of you for watching. And as always, I will see each and every one of you in the next video. Peace.
I didn't know it did that. You see that?
I did see that.